So here we are. As I was saying, I think I'd put an incorrect number in the last class email because we actually, last time round, we reached the Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, verse 18, not 16. And I had said, not has gone the wrong way. I said that anyone who didn't have a chance to recite it last time will have a chance to do it this time. And indeed, anyone who did recite it last time and wants to do it again this time, very welcome.
James, I can't. Did you actually go through the verse itself, the meaning and the syntax and so forth? I thought you just touched on it, as I recall.
Yeah, it was explained by James, but the whole class did not recite it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Thank you for reminding me. And it was. No, it was 218 that we looked at, wasn't it?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I'm talking about this one, 218.
Okay, very good. So I think it's been fully explained. So what we can, so is that right? Madeleine, you're being my memory for everything.
Yes. You explained it, and then you said next time we will recite it. I mean, the whole class will have to recite it. Nobody recited before.
Oh, none of you have recited it yet?
No.
Okay. Oh, okay then. Okay, so I'll just go through it. Let me give you shared screen. Shared screen. Okay, are we properly shared now? Good, thank you. So, antavanta ime deha nityasyuktaha sharirinaha anashino prameyasya tasmadhyudhyasva bharata. So before we do the recitations, or indeed you can ask them afterwards if you like, were there any comments or queries, anything that wasn't fully understood within this verse? I see a very firm shaking of the head from Palden, thus affirming a complete comprehension of this verse. Okay then, so I'll go round you in the order in which you appear in my gallery. So we start with you, Chris.
Antavanta ime deha nityasyoktaha sharirinaha anashrino prameyasya tasmad yudhyasva bharata.
Okay, very good. I mean, I could be a little bit carping, but I appreciate that you. No, but I won't be. I've decided not to be. Indeed, I'm not even going to hint that there would have been any cause for it anyway. Okay, you have clearly been practicing.
I have, Jim.
You have.
But if I haven't had a chance to practice the next two verses of the Bodhicharya, so I'll, if I can duck out on reciting those.
Well, okay. So either you can duck out, or you can have your first practice run here in the class. The whole purpose is not to give a dazzling display of getting it right, but to advance together in knowledge. So I understand how the words can come out slightly haltingly, but I don't know whether it was my hearing, but this word "rina" you seem to break up into as it were, slight pauses between the syllables. Can you say?
Yes, I was trying to get the long re followed by short re.
Oh, okay, sharirinaha. Yes, okay. So if you can just let it flow out nicely. Sharirinaha.
Sharirinaha.
Okay, very good. Um, I just want to be sure that you are all absolutely sure why we've got a sharirin, which is the stem form. It's an in stem. You know, our favorite example, yoga, and a yogin is one who does yoga. And it's a consonantal stem. The stem ends in a consonant. And so we know that the genitive singular of these stems in fact, the consonantal stems generally is just aha, not asya, but aha, as here. And the rule about the dental n becoming a retroflex n after the r applies equally in stems. So this accounts to the sharirin written on its own would be just at the end of sharirin on its own with a dental n, but now it comes into be a full-fledged word with its ending, and it obeys the rules, which is why the dental n becomes the retroflex n, sharirna.
James, would you mind just giving us the English translation again, please, of the verse? Because, as I say, I've got a very poor memory in regard to what you did. I'm sure you went through it, but I must have switched off or something.
Okay, did I give one down here? These bodies are
Oh, yeah.
Okay, this is kind of meant to be meant. If you read down the English, it's kind of meant to be a crude English, but meant to be an accurate verbatim translation. But I can indeed do it. Antavanta imedeha nityas sharirinaha. So the imedeha, these bodies. Okay, that's clear enough. So deha meaning a body. And remember, it can mean a body, specifically a living body, though Sri Nimala, you told us last time that in Sri Lanka, the word deha is just used for a dead body. Is that right? Okay. So here's just body, just means ordinary human bodies, living human bodies. Ime, masculine, nominative, masculine, plural, these ime deha, these bodies, ukta are said, that's the past participle of the root vach, and it would make vachta, but two things happen. First of all, the ch before the t becomes a k, so vakta. And the second thing that happens is because in Vedic you had to that or stressed syllable on the stressed final syllable, the va becomes u, so ukta. It's softened to vakta to ukta. It's just the softening of an unstressed syllable containing a semivowel. You get the same with yaj, ishta, vach, ukta. So ukta, masculine plural, said, meaning they are said or they are said to be. So these bodies said, meaning are said to be antavantaha, having an end, finite. The word anta means an end. In fact, our English word end derives directly from it, or from the same root. So these bodies are said to be, I mean, generally, or here it almost means generally known to be, things that have an end. They're known to be finite. The human body will last for a certain period of time and then die. So these bodies of whom or of what? Of these bodies that belong to these bodies of the nityasya sharirinaha. of the permanent, or how do I say of the eternal, okay, of the eternal soul. So we've got these bodies of the eternal soul are said to be finite, or are known to be finite. And I think last time I may have explained the meaning of sharirin, that sharira is another of the words for body. And it may come, I don't think this is definitely fixed here, but it seems right, it may come from the root shri, meaning to lean on something and therefore to support yourself. So sharira means a support, but it means the body viewed as a support, as a basis for the Atman, for the soul to dwell in. So a sharirin means that which has a sharira, that which has a support, namely the true self, the true soul, the Atma. So these bodies of the permanent soul, let's use that word, are said to be finite. The next two words, the first two words in the second line, anashina aprameyasya, are both adjectives, and they're both in the genitive case because they both qualify sharirin. So it's the nityasya sharirinaha, anashina aprameyasya. So these are three adjectives, nitya, anashin, and aprameya. They're all qualifying sharirin. And then into the genitive, nityasya sharirinaha anashinaha aprameyasya. So three adjectives, all in the genitive, all qualifying the noun sharirin. So you could now say these bodies of the permanent, indestructible, immeasurable sharirin, soul, are said to be / known to be finite. Finite in the sense of they will be destroyed, they will die and perish. Tasmat, therefore, yudhyasva bharata. Therefore, fight, O Bharata.
Yeah, thank you.
Has this adequately clarified it to your satisfaction, Chris? Good. Okay, we're round to Srinimala. Would you like to
Yes.
recite, please? And we've got the Devanagari and the Roman up for you, whichever you prefer.
Antavanta ime deha nityasyo nityasyoktas sharirinah anasino parameyasya tasmat yudhyasva bharata.
Very good, very good. Thank you, Srinimala. Well, Kath, it's your turn.
Antavanta ime deha nityasyokta sharirinaha anashino prameyasya tasmad yudhyasva bharata.
Okay, lovely. Thank you, Kath. Madeline, round two. Before you go, I just need to going to put the blind down. There's too much light coming into the room. Okay. But yeah, then, Madeline, round to you.
Yes. Antavanta ime deha nityasyoktaha sharirinaha anashino prameyasya tasmad yudhyasya tasmad yudyasva bharata.
Okay, thank you, Madeline.
Thank you.
And Paladin.
Antavanta ime deha nityasyoktaha nityasyoktaha sharirina.
Come in, John. Yeah. Sorry, it's just the gardener. I've various noises around. One is the gardener just arrived, and the other is builders who are working upstairs. So might be a couple of distractions.
Well, saved by the gardener because I was making a right hash of that. I'll
So
start again.
please, I was about to say, with apologies for that, just distractions happening at that moment.
Very welcome.
Please start again, Paladin.
Okay. Antavanta ime deha nityasyoktaha sharirinaha anashino prameyasya tasmad yasva bharata.
Okay, very good. But I did detect a very tiny gliding of the deha. Is it as the pure vowel, the pure eha?
Deha.
Okay, yes. I mean, some English people have a difficulty in pronouncing the, so to speak, the pure vowels, the e, o, because they want to anglicize and say a and o. But anyway, the second time round, you did it perfectly. You see, the way to get these, quite a fun way to do it, using getting these pure vowels right, is just to imagine the Italian opera singing. You see, imagine the Italian opera, the lovely e and the o, the pure vowels. What we'd like to do is when Marco, you see, is going to recite it now. It's often useful to look at the mouth of the speaker, just to see that just to see how the mouth is held. Now that's why I'm going to ask Marco, can you adjust your camera? Because we can only see you from the eyebrows up at the moment. That's a little bit better. No, it's still going to it's still going to pointing a bit. We still now can see you from the nose up a little bit more, if it's possible.
Yeah. I'm short-sighted and I tend to get too much into the screen.
But we still can't see your mouth, unfortunately. I don't know whether it's something to do with your camera angle.
Well, I can see myself.
Okay, if it's not possible, it's not. It just would be preferable. Ah, that was better. Yes, yeah. There we are. Got it.
Sorry about that.
So as you move forward, you seem to be sinking down below.
I forgot where I put my glasses and Antavanta ime deha nityasyukta sharirina anashino prameyasya tasmadyudasva bharata.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Marco. Thank you.
I think Mariano is much better to imitate the opera singing.
It's a pity we don't have Mariano here with us. Yes. I mean, to have two Italians together is wonderful. Yes, Mariano can be something of a theatrical type. We can imagine him at La Scala, can't we? The wonderful La Scala. Okay, so we'll move on now back to the Bodhicharya Avatara. But are there anything that anyone wants to say or ask about this verse before we move on? Okay, so what we'll do then, we had reached up to the end of verse 35 of the Bodhicharyavatara. Now we come on to verse 36. Chapter 2. Udbandana prapataisha vishapatyadi bhakshanaihi Nighnanti kechidatmanam apunyacharanena cha. And again, Udbandana prapataischa vishapatyadi bhakshanaihi Nighnanti kechidatmanam apunyacharanena cha. So this verse deals with the methods that people use to kill themselves. And it equates, rather dramatically equates, the outright suicide with killing yourself by unmeritorious conduct, with harm, apunya acharana, with unskillful or unmeritorious conduct. So we have a series of just three actually, three instrumentals. So udbandana prapataischa as a plural instrumental there. Vishapatyadi bhakshanai, another instrumental plural, the ahi, and we've got our singular instrumental ena, apunyacharanena cha. So the subject of the sentence is kechit, some people. This is the chit that you put nothing to do with the chit of chitta. This is just this is the chit. It's the word that's added to a suffix that's added to an interrogative pronoun or an interrogative adverb to make it an indefinite. So kah is who, and so kashchit means somebody. And kada means when, but kadachit means at some time or another, at some time. So it turns an interrogative expression into an indefinite expression. Who, somebody or other. When, sometime. This ke is the plural of kaha. Remember, the kaha belongs to the pronominal declension, and therefore the masculine nominative singular ends in an a, not a. So ke, who, meaning who in the plural, and so kechid. We get the other words that belong to the pronominal declension. For example, anya, meaning another. The plural is not anya, but anye. And we have the sabbe buddha, all, not sabba buddha, but sabbe buddha, all Buddhas. Also the word eka, one. You can use it in the plural, and in which case means some, a few. So kechid, so it's the indefinite form. Kechid just therefore means some people, just an indefinite. Kechid nighnanti atmanam. Some people kill themselves. This nighnanti, it's from the root han, meaning to kill. Let me just call up the iPad. Where's my iPad gone? Oh, there we are. Yeah. Pressed the wrong button. Lost my connect. Oh, sorry. I think I might have to go through a rigmarole of. We've now got a more complicated rigmarole to connect ourselves. Just see if this is. Oh. Oh, okay. So it's this until a few weeks ago, I can't remember if I had the same difficulty with you last week. Until a few weeks ago, it was such a simple process to connect the iPad to the computer so that the computer screen mirrored it. There's now a new improved system which makes it far more vulnerable and complex. And I did require the assistance of one of my sons to assist me through it. So this root Han. Oops. There we are. It was probably in older times something like Gan. Anyway, it's become Han. Originally, the original meaning was probably something like to strike, to hit, and then it came to mean more specifically then in Sanskrit and Pali to kill. I may have mentioned this to you before. It's in a past participle hatta, and it seems likely to be cognate with our English word hit. And the original gh, sometimes a gh or a dh turns up in Latin with an F. So the ghan became fen and then fend, as in defend. So the defendere in Latin. And indeed, I think Marco reminded us on a previous occasion, even our word fencing comes from that same word, because fencing, I mean, using a sword, it originally meant to defend yourself, the art of defending yourself with a sword. So to defend means to strike away, therefore to strike away danger. So it's a little bit of an irregular verb. I remember on an earlier occasion I used slightly bad language to the class in describing this verb and its irregularities. I even went so far as to refer to it as a little bastard who was being deliberately difficult. Firstly, it's a class 2 verb, which means that he, she, or it kills is not hanati, but hanti. The personal endings are joined directly to the hanti. Note, however, in Pali, you do have hanati. It's become a class 1 verb in Pali. Pali also has hanti, but mostly hanati, but in Sanskrit it's got to be hanti. Now, class 2 verb, let's look at the regular verb, a regular class 2 verb, for example, ad, he, she, meaning to it. So to he, she, or it eats is atti, but in the third plural, you get the anti, same as class 1, so you have the adanti. Now, hanti, okay, so far so good. You would expect to see hananti, but you don't. If it were regular, what happens is the ha, it reverts to its ancient form, becomes a g. Not only that, but it loses the first vowel. So they kill is actually not hananti, but gnanti. There are other forms of the verb as well, where the g reappears. For example, to the causative, if you get somebody else to kill, it's ghatayati. So you can see it's quite an irregular kind of verb. An obstacle is vigna. So the han root reduces to gna there again with the loss of the vowel. So we see in this verse that the form I've just given you, where have I put them? Just find it again. So nignanti. Whether the prefix ni here really adds any meaning to it, I'm not sure. Here it simply just means to kill. I don't think the meaning would have been much different if it had been just gnanti. Anyway, nignanti kechid atmanam. Some people kill themselves. And remember that atmanam, kechid is plural, nignanti is plural, but atmanam is singular. Remember, we do have the plural, they could be atmanah, but remember that when atma is used as a reflexive pronoun, doing something to yourself here, killing yourself, even though the subject and the verb are plural, when it's used as the reflective pronoun, it's always singular. So nignanti atmanam, literally, they kill self, not selves. So how do they do it? There are these various ways, all in the instrumental. These are modes of killing themselves. Udbandhana prapartaischa. This is a dvandva compound. You could have cha. You could have udbandhanena prapatena cha, for example. So udbandhana, by hanging themselves. And you can see what I mean, because the band, the root band, which in English turns up as almost the same, but with a change of vowel. It's the same as the English word to bind. Band becomes bind in English. So udbandhana is like the colloquialism, stringing oneself up, meaning to commit suicide by hanging. So that's the meaning of it here. By hanging themselves, literally tying themselves up. Prapateischa, this is from it means a precipice or a very steep slope. It's from the root pat to fall. So prapata literally means falling forwards. That's the root meaning of this word. And it came then to mean that if you're walking along and you come to a cliff edge, if you aren't careful and don't stop, that's what you'll do. You'll fall forwards over the cliff edge. So then by uptying and cliffs or precipices, meaning that some kill themselves by hanging themselves, or by, effectively, it means here throwing themselves off cliffs. Vishapatyadi bhakshanai. Bhakshana, from the root bhaksh, which is in fact an extended root from bhaj, meaning to enjoy something, and then to eat it. So bhakshana just means the act of eating, and then by extension food. So visha patya adi bhakshanai, by foods that are visha, or by acts of eating that are visha, poison, patya adi. So visha means poison. In fact, I can't remember whether it was in this. No, it may have been in the Pali class. The visha is actually cognate with the Latin virus, which is the one that we say is a virus. So visha, meaning poison, is the same etymologically. It's the same word that we have as virus, virus that attacks the body. Pitta. Let's just get to pitta. We've got a lovely piece of etymology here, because all you need to do to trace the etymology from Sanskrit to English is to cross off the final a. So it's a path. A pata is a path. Nice one, that. So if something is, you can make an adjective out of it. Patya basically means suitable for the path, suitable for where you want to go. Something's suitable in life generally. And if something is apatya, unpath-like, literally, it means it's just unsuitable or wrong. And in this context, it's just bad food. So and the adi, of course, meaning etc. Ubandhana-prabhathaischa vishapathyadi-bhakshanaihi niknanti kechidatmanam. And finally, this is the punchline of the verse. The first ones are very obvious ways of committing suicide: hanging, throwing yourself off a cliff, poisoning. But then apunya charanena cha. It's apunya acharanena cha. So that by conduct, the acharana, the achara and acharana have broadly the same meaning. It's your conduct, your way of comporting yourself. So by conduct that is apunya. We all know what the Buddhist sense of the unmeritorious. I think we have been through my little spiel on punya and apunya. Haldane clearly remembers that we have, haven't we? Yeah. It's the one that is commonly translated as merit, whether it's an adjective and a noun. Commonly translated as merit, but could well be, I don't know if it's definitively established, could be from the root pu, meaning to purify or that which is pure. That's that pu root that came into Latin as purus and into English as pure. So it's that same root. So the punya, rather than being merit, which sounds a little bit commercial, Latin merere, to earn. It's probably these are acts that not so much earn you merit, your cosmic or spiritual bank balance sense, but acts that purify you of the defilements.
I was smiling, James, because that explanation's obviously sunk in, and that's not always the case, because as you were talking, I was thinking, I wonder if impure conduct would be a reasonable translation.
Impure conduct.
Probably not, because it implies other things, but
it does imply other things. I mean, as soon as you said impure conduct, my mind immediately flashed back to my Roman Catholic upbringing many years ago.
Maybe impurifying conduct, maybe. That's if there's even a word like that. But anyway, your explanation for punya had obviously settled into my head, because that's what I was thinking.
Thank you, pal. It makes it worth it when I get people who really grasped it like that. Thank you, Paladin. So that really is the punchline of this verse, that we've got these obvious ways of harming and killing ourselves. And Shantideva here is saying, well, if your conduct is apunya, then you are killing yourself in the same way that you would be by outright acts of suicide. That's the effect of this line, of this verse.
James, can I ask a question?
Mm.
Just the unpath-like poison, that seems a strange formulation.
Okay, visha, apatya. These are two separate words. By poison, visha is outright poison, and apatya, I've taken just to mean unsuitable or unwholesome food.
It's just that makes sense in English, but unpath-like poison just seemed a strange way to describe a poison.
Poison, foods that are the bhakshanani, the foods that are visha or apatya adi. So it's visha and apatya. In this sentence, they're to be interpreted separately as both separately qualifying bhakshanam. So after that, then what was your doubt or puzzlement?
Just if I was describing eating a poison, you might describe eating a dangerous poison or a deadly poison, but an unpath-like poison just seemed a strange way to.
It's not an unpath-like poison. It's a visha or something that is apatya. So
yeah, okay.
apatya isn't actually qualifying poison.
Yeah. Okay, that makes more sense. Thank you. Yeah, got you.
So I mean, there are some who would well, poisons obviously enough. I mean, our Mars bars, patya. If you restricted your diet to Mars bars, which is very sad, nobody has yet said that it's all right. I'm waiting for that day, but I'll probably die first. So just unwholesome foods, and maybe not the direct poison, but things that generally are going to shorten your life.
Like too much sugar for someone suffering from diabetes, possibly.
Yeah, of course, somebody suffering from diabetes. We pronounce it
diabetes.
Somebody suffering from that would be a case in point. If somebody is suffering from diabetes and has got to be particularly careful what he eats. Yeah, that is a point. I mean, we know that some people have got allergies, so something might be an outright poison for anybody. There are other foods that might be fatal for somebody with a particular illness or allergy, like diabetes or the other food allergies. Yeah, that's a good point, Marco. Yes.
James, I'm not all that keen on Mars bars, but wagon wheels maybe.
Mars. Okay, we'll settle it. Chris likes wagon wheels. I like Mars bars. And then, of
James,
course, sorry. Yeah.
You said that virus and visha are cognate words, connected words.
Yes.
Could be also the case with vicious, vice, something, a behavior which is poison.
Sure. I'm not sure. What I'm going to do, Mark, I'm going to follow up that interesting point. Oddly enough, it came into my mind the other day. I was going to look it up, but didn't. But I'm going to check up. I'm going to check up whether vice and it's vitium, I think in Latin. Vitium, is it? Yes, that's right. Because in English we can talk about vitiating something, meaning making it go wrong, making it wrong. Because we got the T in Latin, vitium, vitiosus, I doubt it. But in any case, I will check this and come back to you on it next time. I don't know if any of you have this wonderful word. Let me just get it off the shelf. It's a book by Alois Walder, the Lateinische Etymologisches Wörterbuch. And it's quite a thick book. It runs to, how many pages does it run to? Good along, it doesn't. Okay, oh, here we are. I'm looking in the wrong place. Yeah, it runs to nearly 900 pages. And there you specifically look up Latin words and you trace them back. And it does trace them right back to their Proto-Indo-European origins and gives the Sanskrit forms as well. Actually, now that I've got it open in front of me, let's look up you didn't have to take a moment to puzzle it out because my knowledge of German isn't quite as good as I would like. It doesn't point to any direct connection with the Visha, but I'll explore further and come back to you on it next time round. Right, so we can have some recitation of this. Were there any queries on it before we move on to the recitations?
I just had a question about Bhakshana and whether there is anything interesting in terms of its root or its, if it's creating any words in the modern languages.
It's actually a slightly complex series of meanings in this root, Paula. Let me just turn up. Just turn up Monia Williams on the subject. Yeah. So the root is bhaksh. And even that relatively simple statement, the root is bhaksh, we do have to qualify because it may not be a primary root. Remember that Sanskrit has a number of derivative roots. One obvious example is the root e, meaning to go, and it has the derivative root ya, also meaning to go. It's where we get the word yana from, and Mahayana. So there are quite a number of roots that have a more primitive form and then an extended form. Bhaksh is most likely to be one of these. In fact, Monia Williams says it's probably a secondary form from bhaj, or a nominalized form from bhaksha. So there's quite a lot. You've opened a bit of a can of worms here, Paula, but a very interesting one. It's to the root bhaj. The most primitive form I think that I can get to is bhaj, which means a share or a portion. And it has the sense of if you are one who has a great share, remember bhaj makes its verbal noun with a j becoming g, as we expect, yuj, yoga, bhaj, bhaga, meaning a share. So we get Bhagavan, which is our word, frequently used word for the Buddha. So one that often translates as blessed, one who has received great blessing. And we see there a reflection of the lovely Jewish Kabbalistic idea of one who has received great blessing, but is a channel that received great blessing to pass it on. So when we talk about the Buddha being Bhagavan, the Blessed One, I see that same idea at work. He's received much blessing, but he passes it on. So the original idea is a share, and then to partake of something. And then we see by this extended root, it means to eat or drink, or to use up. I don't know, I guess to sting or bite. But anyway, we see how from having a share, moving on to partaking of something, therefore consuming it. Incidentally, this gives us bhaksh. The other word we know is bhikshu, bhikkhu in Pali, bhikshu meaning literally a mendicant, a beggar. And it comes actually from a desiderative form of bhaj. Bibhakshate, the original to desire to share would be originally bibhakshate, and that was then condensed into bhiksh. So the bhikshu is one who desires a portion, one who desires to have a portion of what you have, therefore mendicant, a beggar. So yes, Paola, there's
sorry. Thank you. How do you spell bhikshu? Sorry.
Okay, bhikshu. Let me just let me call this up. So, oops. There we are. It's the standard word for monk. It's the word that we know in Pali as bhikkhu, but that's by standard derivation from the Sanskrit form, which is bhikshu. So originally Sanskrit bhikshu, and by regular phonetic mutation, Pali bhikkhu. Let's just we're just going to see if Mooney Williams supports what I say here, and happily he does. So it's from the desiderative of bhaj rather, to wish to share, to wish to partake. So that's what a mendicant does. He indicates, or if you're a Buddhist monk, you don't actually indicate it. You just hope that somebody will take the hint. It means to wish to share or to partake of what somebody else has. So how can you say whether something is a root or is not strictly a root? Basically, you can say that bhaj is the true root, and then you get derived roots, bhaksh and bhiksh, which clearly do derive from the original bhaj. And mostly the criterion for whether something is a root, which is a dhatu in Sanskrit, which also means element, is the elemental form of a word. You can't get any smaller than that, otherwise it ceases to be a root. But basically the rule is if Panini says it's a dhatu, then it is. So as far as I know, Panini didn't say, well, the real root is bhaj, and these derivative roots, not real roots, just derivatives of bhiksh and bhaksh. He just listed them in his dhatu parta, his element reading, his list of roots. There are some occasions where it's slipped up. Mostly when you get homonymous roots, I mean two roots that have the same sound, mostly Panini was aware that they were two separate roots, For example, in the word bridge. The root bridge is, in fact, there are two roots, bridge, and Panini was aware that they were entirely separate ones. One means to enjoy, and the other means to bend. In fact, from bridge, meaning to bend, that came into English as bow, as in the bow and arrow is the bending. Also, the elbow, the arm bend, is from that same root. In other cases, Panini did not make that distinction when he should have done. It wasn't his fault, and he was right. He compiled all this 500 BC. This is almost divine powers he seemed to have in assembling the grammar of the Sanskrit language. Some of you may have had a chance to see his Ashtadhyayi, his grammar. But a phenomenal work, even if written now, but written 500 BC. We think about 500 BC. I don't think his dates are certain, but he was approximately a contemporary of the Buddha. And the root chit, from which we get chitta, often translated as loosely, very roughly translated as the mind. And I had been puzzled by the range of meaning of chitta, how it's used among the Advaita and the Chaitanya and the Chitta as that which a kind of higher self that illumines, but equally it's used for some ordinary mental activities, seeing, noticing things. And that really puzzled me, how the word could have had such philosophically important differences, until actually I looked it up in Pokorny, dear Julius Pokorny, who says in fact it's from two separate Proto-Indo-European roots, one meaning to shine or be bright, and the other meaning to see or to notice. But they both came into Vedic as chit. They were quite similar. They're different, also say, similar but nevertheless distinct in Proto-Indo-European. I forget what they are. But they both came to Vedic as chit, and they were taken by Panini as the same root. So when I discovered that this was a kind of mistake, they're two separate roots, that resolved quite a lot of puzzlement for me as to the meaning of chitta. In fact, I think I've done, I don't remember, I've done a note on it in my explanatory glossary. Just bear with me when I call it up. Yeah. I've lost it now. Should have it there somewhere. Anyway, oh, sorry, here we are, yes, it is here. So the Proto-Indo-European roots, so we've got kai or sky, can be kite or kite as well, kite or kite, meaning the bright appearance. Gives us the Greek glaukos in modern Greek, meaning gleaming or bright in originally. And it was the idea of
So what's the root there? What's the root for, which root are you looking at now?
This one, it has various possible forms, kai or sky, or possibly with a D or a T at the end. So they're basically called the root kai or kite in Proto-Indo-European. Remember, these are reconstructed roots. We aren't absolutely sure. This is just the the best we can get, as it were, constructing backwards. So that root kai has the brightness, and it was that came to be used in Vedanta. That meaning of came as chit and chitta, meaning that which is luminous and bright, which gives luminosity to the human mind and body. Is the kind of the spiritual brightness behind us. And the other one is kwei, which means to observe, appreciate. So, and they both turned up in Vedic as chit, resulting in the puzzlement that was only resolved when I checked it in Pakorni. And in fact, even in modern Russian, the word for to read is chitat, the root chit and the infinitive ending chitat. And the Russian word chest, meaning honoring something, taking note of, respect, looking at again. So also coelium in Latin, cielo, celestial, the sky, comes from the bright, the Vedic root kwai, meaning bright. So kai, not kwai, bright. So chitta and celestial, you see, have this, and glaucoma, all have the same root origin. But anyway, it's there in the explanatory glossary.
James, it seems really quite extraordinary that the human mind has got this extraordinary capacity to premeditate its own destruction. It's always struck me as extraordinary that human beings can plan in advance how they're going to do away with themselves. And it's a very dark subject, but French existential philosophy framed suicide as an ultimate assertion of human freedom, but ultimately rejected it as not an authentic response to the inherently meaningless world. It's a very dark subject, but it's just extraordinary how people can go about planning to kill themselves. It's in an extraordinary level of detail. It's quite extraordinary.
Yeah,
anyway, dark subject.
So were you quoting a particular author when you read that?
It's the French. It's Albert. I hope I pronounced his name correctly. Albert Camus.
Albert Camus.
Camus.
Camus. Yes.
He said that the only truly serious philosophical problem, there is but one truly serious philosophical problem, and that is suicide. But and he argued that the universe has no inherent meaning; it's absurd. And that human beings are constantly caught up in a struggle to find purpose. But it's a very dark subject, but I've had cause to look into it in the past.
Of course, you would have in your own profession, wouldn't you?
Yeah. But it is. I've found it extraordinary that people have this capacity to, as I say, plan their own demise. It's extraordinary business.
It is an extraordinary business, but I feel slightly, much as we respect the great Albert Camus. So can you pronounce it correctly for us, Madeleine?
Yes, you're right, Albert Camus.
Albert Camus.
You pronounce it right, yes.
Yeah, Camus, thank you. However, particularly within this gathering and similar gatherings, I doubt whether there is anyone anyone who would say that rather than look at the words of the Buddha, we should look at the words of Albert Camus.
Oh, yes.
For our wisdom. It would be interesting to see what Albert Camus would make of the Bodhicharyavatara, but I don't think his history relates that he had anything to say.
He was a bright spot compared to Nietzsche at the same approximate time.
Goodness me, you can't beat the Germans for being no Germans, no, no, can't beat the Germans for getting very, very dark when they want to.
It's only remarkable that they can do that if you were taking as your starting assumption that A, human beings have only got one life, and B, they're just solitary individuals. I mean, people might kill themselves because they're going on to something better, because there's a hope of a reward, because there's a bigger ideal for somebody else. You know, it's only kind of remarkable if that's your starting point as to what it means to be human, which is very culture specific, I think.
Yeah, and it depends what you take as your starting point. And sometimes you have the most, famous starting points, which are actually so basically flawed. If you look at it from a Buddhist point of view, look at Descartes, René Descartes, for example. Cogito ergo sum, je pense donc je suis. I think, therefore I am. Well, hang on, mate. I think, therefore I am. Let's just analyze that a bit. Analyze it. And the entire premise falls to bits. Vinashyati, falls to bits. So it sounds like a very grand thing to say, cogito ergo sum, but no. But it doesn't.
But don't you think it was a progressive contribution against what he was sort of inheriting? I mean, it's kind of, we're taking it out of context now, but I think at the time that was a progressive contribution.
Okay, I think you probably could have, and again, I'm getting into deep water here, and I feel uncomfortable about saying this from the teacher's chair because I'm no expert. But to take up your point, Paola, it probably was progressive if you look at what he'd immediately been emerging from. So he was emerging from, say, the domination of Catholic dogma and that kind of thing. So if you were emerging from Roman Catholic dogma, then it probably was rather progressive to say where, to say cogito ergo sum. However, Roman Catholic dogma was such an awfully, okay, I'm being a bit biased here, was such an awfully bad starting point that almost anything would have been better after that. But if you take the teachings of the Buddha as your starting point, then the pronouncement cogito ergo sum would just be obvious nonsense. So wonderful for somebody in Descartes' position to have thought of it, simply his misfortune by historical accident that he had not had access to the teachings from further east.
Do you think the Buddha would disagree, though? I mean, I think, therefore I am, but your whole idea of I is created by thought, but it's just a misplaced.
Yeah, well, it's part of Maya. I mean, it's part of his basic teaching.
So it's sort of true, but you need to go a step beyond. It's like you create the I through thinking. That is true.
Well, that goes.
But it's not what you assume it is.
Hello?
Yes, sorry.
Victor.
Sorry,
Victor.
Vito.
Victor on phone.
Excuse me. I've got the builders here to attend to this. Victor on the phone. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Hello, Victor.
I think we've managed to take James down a rabbit hole that's well beyond Sanskrit today.
I'm sorry, say again.
Yeah, we can start reciting.
Yeah, okay. When will the men be coming to collect the skip? Mm-hmm. Okay, fine. In fact, Thomas did already tell me that. So yes, I know. I'll only you. No, that's okay. In fact, oh, I see. Oh, I just see that my gardener has brought some stuff. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, is all understood. We'll let you fill up the skip first, and then I'll use it if there's any space left over. Okay, I think we're on this understood. It's gone. Oh, written in Russian instead of one.
Iranian.
Okay, thank you.
Ukrainian, no,
Yeah, do apologize for that break. I've just got I've got builders and various people doing things at the same time. I did have to deal with that. So yeah, as I was just saying, it goes to the heart of the Buddha's teaching that we are that we can the self, the sense of I, is is real. We all feel it, but if you kind of stand a bit back and examine it, it's like a dream, a kind of illusion. In fact, it's rather interesting. In English via Latin, of course, via Latin, we talk about the ego, the sense of self. But the Sanskrit for the equivalent of the ego, the sense of self, is there's the word aham, meaning I, but the word for the ego, close to the ego, is the ahankara, literally the I maker, that which creates the sense of I. So the kind of the series of things going on in the mind that produce the sense of I. So the Buddha might have had a very interesting conversation with René Descartes, which I suspect the Buddha might have won.
But the eye maker plan its own demise from its own point of view. It's
I'm sorry, say again, Chris?
But the eye maker, the capacity of the eye maker through false ideas to plan its own demise is really very strange.
It is very strange indeed, and it goes contrary to basic evolution, doesn't it? Because Darwinian evolution, we basically are survival machines, essentially.
Yes, a sense of self-preservation. It's got the capacity to override that.
That's right.
But survival of the group or the species, not necessarily survival of the individual. I mean, you think of parents, parent animals or mothers sacrificing their lives for their children.
Indeed, yeah. In fact, I don't know if any of you have read. I will give a note. I'll send out a note to this book, and it's by an American author called Robert Wright. I'll send a note to it in the group email. I don't particularly like the title. The title is called "Why Buddhism is True." However, it's got a fascinating study, very well written, it looks at Buddhist doctrine in the light of evolutionary psychology, Darwinian theory, and it makes the very interesting point that our senses are not designed to show us reality. Our senses are just created by the fact that we are machines designed to get our genes into the next generation. And that anything that has that effect will create a trait within us that will survive. So we survive not because we see reality, but because we've become rather efficient at propagating ourselves. So basically, we are propagation machines. And to the extent that we do not have self-awareness, we are simply complete slaves to the types of pleasures, food, sex, comfort, and all these things that, make you survive, and more importantly for these purposes, create the next generation.
I propagate, therefore I am.
I propagate, therefore. Yes. I like that one, Felton. So let's get back to where we were. I've lost the text now. It can't be far. Here we are. Right. So I've got a few extra minutes today because the meetings I normally have to leave fairly promptly for isn't being held today. So shall we have any further questions or queries? This has really raised some very entertaining rabbit holes, isn't it? Further questions, then we'll have some recitation.
James, maybe Baksh has the same root in Italian of fagocitare. I suppose in English, phagocytate. It must not be very used or to eat.
Sorry, what was that? I didn't catch well the word that you said.
Fagocitare.
Fago
Fagocitare, the Italian verb.
Yes, yeah. In fact,
English,
Paula, in modern Greek, to fagito means food, doesn't it? Fago
Yes, absolutely. I've not heard of the words that Marco is talking about.
No, but it clearly from the Greek. So it is fagito from the root fag. That's right, of course, Budge. I hadn't thought of that, Marco. That's brilliant. So we have autophagus, something that eats itself. Autophagos, something that eats. Yeah. So it's from that root fag. Yes. Well, thank you for that, Marco. I hadn't spotted that. So,
and for those loving the bacteria, there are maybe some called macrophage.
Yes, exactly. Yes, macrophagus and the macrophages we call them in English. Exactly. Yes, that has to be from the same root pudge. Yeah, wonderful. I love the way we are weaving all the strands of this net. You see, this linguistic net. So yes. So the root phago and phagito is just the past participle in Greek. Phagito, that which is eaten. So is one of the words for in Greek for food.
Yes, but how does fudge come from badge?
Oh, well, that's just ba. The ba in Sanskrit or Vedic turns up as a f in Greek. It very often does. In fact, the root, in fact, we discussed this last time, the root boo. As we get up my, it's quite a common phenomenon. The root boo. To be, that's the one that in English is to be from that same root. In Greek, phy, as in physical, so physis, physiology, that which is, and then as Marco pointed out last time, the past tense fuit in Latin, it was. In modern Italian, just fu. And it's the same as in French, fut. Is the past definite of être, fut. So in Latin, fuit, French, fut, and Italian, fu. This is just a variance of this boo. So you find quite a number of words which appear with a b in Vedic, and with a f. I think this one in Greek, or an f in Latin. There are quite a number of routine correspondences, Paula. You very often see, for example, one of my favorites is, problem with the pen again. One of my favorites is the sound sh, which very frequently appears in Latin and Greek words, as a k. For example, the word for a horse in Sanskrit, ashwa. What happens, that turns up in Latin as equus, so the sh has become a k and written as a q, but that's just a matter of spelling. You have the root nash, the Vedic root nash, meaning intransitive, it means to perish. As a transitive, it means to harm and therefore to destroy. And if you have the science of nosology, in Greek, nosos means an illness. I don't know if it's used in modern Greek. In classical Greek, nosos or nose it means illness, and so nosology is the classification of illnesses, and it gives its name also to a hospital. So if there's a nosogenic disease, there's a disease you get while you're being treated in hospital, in the nosso house, in the sick house. But even more entertainingly, this nash becomes in Latin nocere. So nocere meaning to harm. That's where we get the word noxious, harmful. It's also where we get the word innocent. So innocent, Italian innocente, Latin innocens, not causing harm. So if you are found to be innocent, it means you have done no harm. You have done no wrong. So you'll find that we get a number of these regular correspondences between the Vedic roots and modern European languages, especially into Latin and Greek. So, Paula, do not be puzzled or alarmed by the b of Vedic turning up as a f in Greek. It's a regular, normal phenomenon.
But would you call it a mutation?
It's a regular phonetic mutation, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Also, just I'm going to give you bhi to fear, bhaya, bhaya. Same in Sanskrit and Pali. Bhaya means either fear or a danger. So the root meaning is fear. Look at this. You see, we pronounce it in English as phobia, pronounced in Greek, Paula.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Phobia. Which means fear. It's from exactly that same root. So here again, a b in Vedic becomes a f in Greek. And I'm sure you know from me already, but the more you look at these things, the closer Sanskrit comes to us. The more you see, it's a wonderful feeling to see that it's not just some remote ancient language. It is an ancient language, but the more you look at it, the closer you see that our own modern speech is to it. A little bit more if you are a Greek speaker or an Italian speaker, a little bit closer, but equally you or a French speaker indeed, but equally you find it through the Germanic line as well. Indeed, our English word fear doesn't come through the Germanic line, but we have this this from Bhaya originally. And in fact, in Italian, paura, fear, is from that same root. La peur in French, you see, from the Bhaya root. Again, you can see how these mutations occur over the centuries, over the millennia in this case. And of course, Shriyanimala has an advantage over us because so many of the words that Shriyanimala uses in her native Sinhala are directly the same as they were in Sanskrit and Pali. So shall we do a couple of recitations then and wind up? So would you like to, you're first on my gallery now, Srinimala, would you like to start?
Let me try. Udbandana prapataischa vishpatayat vishpatanai baksanaihi. I don't know. Nignati kechidatmana mapunyacha ranenacha.
Okay, very lovely. But just can you say this one word again? Vishapatyadi. Vishapatyadi.
Vishapatyad bakshana.
Okay, excellent. It's the Vishapatya becoming Vishapatya.
Vishapatyad. Yeah.
And in Pali, by the way, we have the same word for poison, but the sh becomes a s. And
Yes.
Visa in Pali is poison. Okay, thank you. Kath, will we come round to you? Oh, there you are. You're unmuted.
Udbandhana prapataischa vishapatyadibhakshanaihi nignanti kechidatmanam apunya charanena cha.
Lovely, thank you. Medlin.
Yes. Udbandhana prapataisha vishapatyadi bhakshanaihi nignanti kechidatmanam apunyacharanena cha.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. By the way, you have all got it right so far, and I'll just make it explicit in case you didn't know, but I think you will do. We have this shadow vowel, Buddha, Guruhu, Munihi, where you have the shadow vowel is pronounced after the visarga. When you have the diphthong I, the shadow vowel is a very short E. So Bhakshanaihi is the, but you all got that right. You may have instinctively known. Okay, Palden, round to you.
Udvandana rapataischa vishapatyadi bhakshanai. Too much of the he there. Niknanti kechid atmanam apunya charanena cha.
Okay, very nice, thank you. And Marco?
Udbandhana prapatischa vishapatyadi bhakshanehi nignanti kechi atmanam apunyacharena cha.
Okay, great, thank you. Did you feel like doing your first rehearsal with us all, Chris? There's never any pressure, isn't
it? Bandana prapatayascha visapan pathyanti bakshanaihi nayanti nignanti atmanam apuyacharanaya cha.
Acharanena cha. Just say the word on its own in the instrumental form. Acharanena.
Acharanena.
Charanena, yes. And if you want to get it really right, it's here we've got the retroflex n, which I'm highlighting there, followed by the dental n. This is because of the rule equal to n following a r, therefore it's made retroflex. But you only do it once. Once you've retroflexed the first n, you don't do it to the second n. So the second n goes back to what it would normally be, the ena with the dental. So apunya charanena cha. Just say that. Apunya charanena cha.
Apunya rananechana.
Apunya.
I have trouble with that those combination of dentals and liberal the dental and
the dental and the retroflex.
Retroflex.
Yeah. In fact, just I'll mention on this point here the reason for the n being retroflex. It's the root char, and it makes a verbal noun. One of the ways of making a verbal noun is by adding ana. So char ana. The n has to be retroflex because of the preceding r in the same word. You do often find that you've got a retroflex n where there's no, not because of a preceding r or sh, it just is. And punya is one of those words. It just is. It just is retroflex. But note actually that note in particular, something I'm fairly sure you all know anyway, that whereas we get punya written like that, and written with a n and a y. So the y is pure consonant as punya. In Pali, the merger of the n and the y creates a double nya. So in Pali, it is nya. So a double n, both with the nya, the equivalent of the Spanish tilde, punya. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this one. Any more particular comments or queries before we wind up?
Thank you, James.
Okay, thank you very much, Paola.
Thank you, James.
Thank
Beautiful.
you, thank you all. Okay, thank you all.
Thank
See you next time. Bye then.
See you next
Goodbye.
time. Bye.
Goodbye.
Ciao.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.